It's time! We've been waiting all year for this, boys. Week 1 of the 3rd annual SGS Fantasy Podcast, and I'm your host, yours truly, Jordan. Let me turn this music off for us real quick. So, go ahead and kicking it off right now. Here, let me double check, make sure everything's all good. This is my first time doing it on my PC recording instead of streaming, so I'll make sure it all works out. Hopefully it does. But otherwise, welcome to our second podcast for this season. Now, in this podcast, we're going to go over Week 1 matchups, see who we're favoring, see who we like matchup-wise, stuff like that. We'll probably also kind of look at the waiver wire, see if there's any players that could spark interest whenever the season starts, that could be available to your team maybe in the next upcoming weeks, or could have a great week this week if you want to add someone before it starts. But otherwise, we could go ahead and get started on the Week 1 matchups. So, first matchup I'm going to go to. So, we got Seth, and he is taking on Mr. Chubby Chasers, Carson Calavan. So this is a really good matchup, guys. So since it's the first week, man, this is what makes it hard to do a podcast for fantasy football, because you just don't know how all these players are going to end up playing. You know, because some players are going to take a downfall, some players are going to have more upside than what they're projected. And so we're going to try to see if we can find ways to be able to kind of understand how these outcomes are going to go for some of these players with matchups, kind of just following from last year's stats on things. But all right, so we got Carson's team, who he's got Trevor Lawrence, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, Gabe Davis, Kyle Pitts. Seth's got Joe Burrow, Breece Hall, Justin Jefferson, who he took as the first pick in our draft this year. So he's also got T. Higgins again. Really good matchup. Obviously, I'm very interested to see how Joe Burrow comes back and how limited he is when it comes to playing, because I think he is going to play, but we don't really know how. I don't think that injury was too serious that he had, so hopefully it doesn't affect him while he's on the playing field, and hopefully he gets protected pretty well by his offensive line. We could see him have a pretty big game if he is the healthy Joe Burrow, like we know, them facing Cleveland. And then you got Trevor Lawrence, and he's taking on the Colts. Colts usually have a very solid defense, usually. Offensively, they're going to be very interesting to see how they play this year. But otherwise, two matchups right there. The QBs are huge here. I do also love the wide receiver matchups too, because Justin Jefferson's probably going to be number one in everyone's board, you know, and he's going to play like it. So I think I'm going to give Seth's projected to win 51% to 49%. I would say that Seth does have a little bit of an upper edge this week, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carson came out with the dub too. It's going to be a great matchup. I really like both teams, and really try to see who will set the tone first to start the week off. All right, so next up, we got Team D-Perk and Jace. So Dylan and Jace, we got some great Week 1 matchups here. How about we talk about that first? Carson versus Seth, and now we got Dylan versus Jace. This is going to be really fun to watch, man. Jace, really high on his team this year. He thinks that he got a lot of steals in the draft from, obviously, us seeing him in Broken Bow, how he's acting. Dylan, on the other hand, Dylan, kind of a little bit of a quiet monster team here. With Saquon, Jalen Waddle, Watson, Hawkinson. So this will be a very interesting matchup. They got Dylan projected to win 52% to 48%. This is another toss-up game because, for one, Jace, I really think your big key this week is Jahmyr Gibbs. How is he going to play against Kansas City, and is he really what he is hyped up to be for the future running back of the Detroit Lions? So we'll see how he plays. Sky Moore's another player that you took a chance on who has the chance to be number one in the number one offense in the league, arguably. So, yeah, so Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes is going to be needing to throw to someone, so Sky Moore could be that guy. But yeah, I'm very interested. A lot of players on y'all's boards that I'm interested to see how they play. Deshaun Watson too. I'm going to go with Dylan this week. And I'm not doing this just because of the percentages. I just kind of like how Dylan's team's built a little bit more. It's going to be close though, man. It's going to be really close because I feel like Dylan has more players that are already certified compared to Jace's, and that's why I'm going with him. But Jace's team has more upside, if you get what I'm saying. So since he has more upside, Jace's team could obviously blow up. So we'll see what happens. So I got Dylan and Seth so far as my picks. So next up we got Connor Tuck and Ruggs Race Car, Mr. Connor Calavan. Battle of the Connors. So another great matchup. I love how we did our matchups week one right here. So yeah, Battle of the Connors. Very, 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 very much a toss-up. I would have to say, so Anthony Richardson, big chance on him, Connor. Big chance. I mean, he's obviously one of the most risky QBs to draft this year, but also has a potential to be really, really good. He has the talent. We just hope that he's not a bust for your sake. But yeah, we'll see how he plays against Jacksonville. Another player that I really am interested in seeing coming back for Calavan's team is Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, as you guys know, has been suspended for over a year now for gambling. And he is coming fresh off that. Arguably could be number one wide receiver in Jacksonville. I mean, Christian Kirk is really the only guy kind of he's fighting for and with against it. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes there and see how he performs. Dalton Schultz in Houston's a very interesting one too because he performed very well in Dallas. I wonder how he's going to be in Houston. With Tuck's team, he got Jamar Chase, so he's got arguably he's got to be the second best wide receiver in the draft. Very curious to see how Olave ascends this year in his second year. Now he's got Derek Carr throwing to him. So a little bit of a better QB compared to his last QB last year with Andy Dalton. So Derek Carr can maybe be able to help him perform more fantasy-wise. So yeah, the matchup, this is such a toss-up too. I think I'm going to go with Tuck this week just because Connor Calavan's playing riskier players that you just don't know how they're going to be their first game of the year. You know, Ridley, Anthony Richardson being a rookie, Ridley's been over a year. If these players actually end up playing well, Calavan will probably get the win, but I'm going with Tuck this week just because of that factor. All right, boys. So we've gotten through 3 matchups so far. Now we're going with Kyle and Crew. So, Kyle, Mr. Commissioner Kyle, definitely wants to start this year off strong. Didn't have the best year last year. Barely missed the playoffs. So, hoping that he can get in this year. Actually, sorry, no, that's another league. I apologize. He has Tua. So, if Tua stays healthy, big time. He's already shown how good he is healthy, especially with the weapons that he has with Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's got weapons wide receiver-wise to throw to. And so if he stays healthy, I expect him to have a big year. I thought he was a good sleeper pick. It's really just, obviously his head issues. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, CeeDee Lamb, Kenneth Walker, Derrick Henry. I really like Evan Ingram, and I really wish I would have gotten him. I unfortunately got Daniel Jones, and I think this was who I was going to pick if I didn't accidentally auto pick, but Evan Ingram could have a sleepy good year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll see. Now a Crew's team. Crew did mostly auto, but the auto really didn't fuck him up that much. He got Bijan Robinson, and Bijan obviously he's a rookie. He's still got to prove himself, but he's got so much potential and so much hype coming into this year for the Atlanta Falcons. We will see how he plays this year. He's got a really big upside going into this draft. Arguably one of the number one running backs to draft in this year just because of that. So we'll see if all the hype is true. I mean, he's got the talent. He's got Jalen Hurts, Mike Evans, Dalvin Cook, Odell, George Kittle. I really like Kyle's team this week more than Crew's. Crew had a big year last year. And I think his team does definitely have a lot of star power, but I also think Kyle's does too, and I think Kyle ideally has better matchups and better players for this week. I'm going with Kyle. All right, boys, next up we got Bryce and Bert. New Orleans versus Dallas. New Orleans versus Dallas here. So we got Bert. He's got a little bit of an edge, 53% to 47% for Bryce to win this matchup. Bert, obviously, he had a pretty decent year. Kind of got bounced out of the playoffs a little early last year, but still had a good regular season record. Bryce, on the other hand, came up a little short. I won't bring up too much about it. I won't remind you of it anymore, Bryce, but you got a new season upon you, and I feel like you're going to have a great chance this year. Anyways, team-wise here, so I got to pick some upset, right? And I was looking at these matchups, and I could really see a lot of upside with Bryce's team this week. But with Bert's team, very interested to see how Lamar Jackson comes back from that injury. And then I'm also interested to see how Alexander Mattison fills in as that RB1 in Minnesota, because now that he is RB1, we've seen how he plays without Dalvin Cook, and he's played phenomenal. So we'll see if he plays really well as the number one in Minnesota. Now with Bryce's team, so he's got Geno. Geno Smith's coming off that big year last year. Just got that big contract. So expecting some pretty... People are expecting a little bit of a downside for Geno this year just because of how good he played last year. I personally don't really know how he's going to play. I would love for him to succeed in Seattle, so we'll see if he does. He's also got Dameon Pierce, Rachaad White, two pretty young running backs, and then Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Kind of went wide receiver heavy in this, and I do not blame him. You got Diggs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I personally think you have one of the deadliest wide receiver cores in our draft, with Brandon Ayuk as your flex as well. Kadarius Toney, who could end up being number one in Kansas City. Who knows? Obviously, Kelsey will be, but we're talking about wide receivers, not tight ends. He could be the number one wide receiver coming out of KC, arguably. Just saying. So, I mean, he's got a very, very nice squad. I'm going to lean with Bryce this week. Go with a little bit of an upset. I think Bryce will get the dub this week and start the year off right. So, all right, boys, we got next up Chance versus Andy. So, one sec. Get some of my coffee. Also, quick, I got to get a Zen, because this Zen is dedicated to Mr. Old Chance Wofford. Glizzy Gobblers. So, according to ESPN, Chance's team is projected to be number one and finish first in our league this year. And we've already seen Chance win one. He won the first ever annual SGS league. I want to know what you guys think on how you think of Chance's team, projection-wise. The projections really don't matter. It's just it kind of gives us an idea, something to talk about, before the season starts. I mean, so they're saying arguably that Chance drafted the best when it comes to analytics. We'll look at his team. He's got Josh Allen, Travis Etienne, DeAndre, David Montgomery, Kirk, Kelsey, Jamal Williams. So yeah, he's got a really good starting team. A couple players on there that who knows what their roles are going to be. David Montgomery's one. I mean, how much is he going to play compared to Jahmyr Gibbs? Jahmyr Gibbs is number one for sure. They drafted high on him, so David Montgomery is definitely the second back. Jamal Williams is in kind of a same situation type of thing. Jamal Williams will start, but they also got that rookie running back from TCU on their squad as well that is going to be fighting for carries. Alvin Kamara will come off his suspension in 3 games. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 3 games. So, how long is Jamal Williams really going to be productive? That's another question. But overall, dude, Chance's team is phenomenal. He's taking on Andy. They're both 50-50 this week. Chance has a little slight edge, just a 0.9 of a point. Andy's team, on the other hand, I really like. Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper, WR1s right there where they're at. Tony Pollard, very solid running back, about to have a big year. Miles Sanders, number 1 in Carolina. We got Darren Waller, Tyler Lockett, Marquise Brown. So this week on this matchups this week, gosh, this one's going to be probably one of our closer matchups this week, I think. Oh man, dude, this one's very tough to pick. I'm just going to kind of lean towards Chance. The reason why I want to lean towards Chance is Josh Allen. I feel like he's going to make a statement this week. He's going to have a big game to start the week off to kind of show all the people that he is not fucking around this year and that he is still the same Josh Allen that we know. I don't think he changes. He's definitely probably going to throw a turnover. He's probably going to throw a couple picks, but hey, it is what it is. All right, anyways. This in. Ooh, it's hitting. One sec. All right, anyways. Back down. So last matchup's me versus Jack Gray. And with this matchup, I'm hoping to start the year off right. I'm hoping Jack can have a great year as well, but Jack, I'm sorry, I'm going to take the dub this week. But Jack took the Cooper Kupp approach on the draft this year and drafted him, which obviously he's super talented. He was on pace to be WR1 last year until he got injured. So yeah, hopefully he stays healthy for you because he's a big part of your team and your success. So hopefully he stays healthy. And then Kirk Cousins, he could have a really good year as well. Joe Mixon, James Conner, Mike Williams, and then you got Jacoby Myers, Damian Harris. While my team, I got Patrick Mahomes, Stevenson, Dobbins, Hill, Pickens, Cooks, DeAndre Swift, Quentin Johnson, Cole Hardman, Marvin Mims. Just a couple wide receivers on the bench for me to replace in case I need them. But overall, yeah, I'm going with myself this week, Jack. So, prove me wrong. I think Jack has a solid team, though, if they end up playing. I mean, he's got a lot of solidified players that have been somewhat consistent. Joe Mixon has been a little bit, I feel like he's been more consistent lately. Don't really remember where he finished last year. He was 12 last year, right? Is that what it shows? So, I mean, he's reliable. You know what I'm saying? He's got reliable fantasy options. Debo had kind of a down year, but I think injuries played a part for him. Same as Cooper Kupp. So you just better hope you don't have any injury problems. All right. So there's all the matchups, boys. Let's see. So let's look at players. on the waivers currently. QBs, so we're just going to completely ignore QBs right now. Not really a lot of people needing QBs. Um, Usually wide receivers in such a big league like this are probably the only things you're going to get much value out of on the waivers other than running backs whenever they are handcuffs. So, is there anyone that you see, for me personally, is there anyone I see that could ascend this year? Sorry, I don't know why my headset just disconnected there. But yeah, anyways. Oh man, dude, I don't know. There's just not really. There's just a lot of older wide receivers on here. You see Marvin Jones Jr., Robert Woods, Randall Cobb, Allen Robinson. Is there anyone you see? I don't know why, but Darius Slayton, he had a couple games I thought last year where he broke out because we don't know who wide receiver one and new with the New York Giants is going to be. Obviously, Darren Waller is going to be getting a lot of targets, but it's saying so. Obviously, Paris Campbell's there, Isaiah Hodgins, Jalen Hyatt, Sterling Shepard, and Wandale Robinson. They've played. I mean, unless he took a big dump like during training camp or something and didn't play well, I'm kind of surprised how low he is points projection wise because I feel like he was kind of a big part of their offense last year in a way. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's a lot of New York Giants wide receivers on here, and one of them's going to have to produce. So we'll see who it's going to be. I know someone I think has. So look, Sterling Shepard's on here. Darius Slayton, Wandale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt. Is Paris Campbell picked up? I'm assuming Paris Campbell might be picked up. I would think he'd be on here. But look at that. That's almost basically all of the New York Giants wide receivers on the waivers. That just shows you like how trash their wide receiver core is this year. Um, but I would expect one of them to ascend because they're going to be getting targets. Daniel Jones isn't just going to be throwing or just throwing to no one, you know. So yeah, I think waiver wise, definitely watch out for some Giants players. I think some of these Giants players, one of them's going to have to produce and have a big game, you know. Um, KJ Osborne's always like kind of like a handcuff and for a wide receiver in case Jefferson gets hurt. Um, let's see. Yeah, wide receiver wise, otherwise than that, that's just what I would keep an eye on personally. Also, we'll go to running backs. I mean, Gus Edwards is really the only one that kind of I could see he could end up playing very well for Baltimore and start taking some carries from J.K. Dobbins. We'll see. I think J.K. Dobbins will stay the solid back there, but um, yeah, we'll kind of see what Gus Edwards does. Everyone else is just kind of whatever, you know. This is the other one though. I didn't realize he was still available. The TCU running back too. He will be getting some carries behind Jamal Williams, and we'll see how he plays with New Orleans. And then QB wise, I mean, we don't have a lot of QBs available. Well, actually, that are starting. I take that back. We do have quite a few. So we got Brock Purdy, Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, Pickett, Goff, Daniel Jones. With some of these QBs, who do you think is going to have a good year? Me personally, um, you know, looking on here, really the only ones that I think might have big years, Jared Goff. Jared Goff might have a really good year. He had a pretty good year last year. Where did he rank last year in QBs? 9. So I mean, Jared Goff's a really solid QB. Um, he could end up having a pretty good year. Also, really eyeing Kenny Pickett. He is another guy. Just watch out. Pittsburgh might end up having a really good year, and Kenny Pickett, he could end up I mean, I feel like their offense is going to definitely take a step up this year with Pickens and Najee Harris. I think that they have a really good chance of having a good year too. So, where are we at on timing on this pod? We're at 25 minutes. All right, so we're getting pretty close to wrapping up. I'll try to see if there's one more thing that I want to touch up on before we get off here. Um, let's see. Um, Y'all want to check out? How about we do this? Let's go check out some NFL matchups real quick. Let's see the schedule for the NFL games this week. Um, okay, so you get to see ticket prices too. That's kind of cool. Damn, you can go to Jacksonville at Indianapolis for $32, bro. Wow, that's a cheap NFL game. All right, but anyways, our week kicks off with Detroit, Kansas City on Thursday. Fucking huge game to start the season off. I can't wait for this. Um, my prediction for this game, I think Kansas City wins. They're at Arrowhead. I think they get the dub. Carolina at Atlanta. So these are both two teams that are starting QBs that we really just don't know much about yet. Bryce Young, rookie QB out of Alabama, obviously has the talent, but is the offensive line going to hold up for him? Who knows? And then with the Falcons, Desmond Ridder is going to be their starter. We're going to get to see Bijan Robinson. That's going to be interesting. So yeah, that game, I'll go with Atlanta. I think Atlanta gets the win here. Just because I think they have a little bit more experience in Carolina's offense. I just don't think they're going to do anything. But I could be wrong. Anyways, back. So we got Cincinnati at Cleveland. That's another 12 o'clock game. Gonna be very interested to see how Cleveland plays this year with Deshaun Watson. Is he gonna go back to his all-star form in Houston that he was at? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, he's definitely got weapons on offense, a really good running game with Nick Chubb, but they're playing a dog in Cincinnati, and if Joe Burrow's healthy and their offense clicks, then I think Cincinnati gets this win. I'm going to go with Cincinnati on this one. I think they get the win at Cleveland. Next up, we got Jacksonville at Indianapolis. Got Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville's got a lot of potential. Indianapolis is a team that I feel like they're going to be like on the 500 level, maybe lower, just because they have a rookie QB. Don't really know how to fit him in with the offense yet. But he's got a lot of talent, and Anthony Richardson, he could end up being really good. But I'm going to go with Jacksonville this week. I think they just have obviously more experience and more talent. So I'm going to go with Jacksonville. We got Tampa Bay at Minnesota. Tampa Bay, obviously, coming off Brady's retirement. Going to be interested to see how they play without him. Now, they didn't have a good year last year. I mean, their offense was horrible. I don't really know how their offense is going to play this year with Baker Mayfield starting. Obviously, Baker Mayfield's proved in the NFL that he is just an average QB. I don't know if he's going to take an ascend this year. People think he will. I don't think so. I mean, he's got a lot of weapons on offense, but I don't think he's going to produce that well. While you have Minnesota, they're going to play at Minnesota first game, which is a tough game for them. I think Minnesota gets the win. They just have so much firepower on offense, a very solid defense. I think they get the dub here. Next up, we got Tennessee at New Orleans, another 12 o'clock game. Tennessee, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Traylon Burks. Don't really have a lot of upside in Tennessee this year. Same with New Orleans. They think New Orleans might have a little bit of a better year with Derek Carr kind of being an upgrade at QB for him. Got a decent running game with Jamal Williams. Alvin Kamara will come back, and then the rookie from TCU. This game's kind of a toss-up. I don't really know who's going to win this game. I think I'm just going to go with the home field advantage, New Orleans Saints, for that. Next up, we got San Francisco at Pittsburgh. So I think this might be one of the bigger games this week. And the reason I say that is because San Francisco's running. They're going with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's their number one QB, and then obviously they have all those weapons on offense. But I think Pittsburgh, they have a really solid defense. They have a really high potential offense as well. If Kenny Pickett can perform well, this game's going to be really good. It's at Pittsburgh. I'm going to give San Francisco a little bit of an edge here, just because they are so good on defense, and this is a tough test for Pittsburgh this week, so we'll see what happens. Arizona at Washington, another 12 o'clock game. These are two teams that are projected to suck, and suck a lot. Obviously, Arizona doesn't have Kyler Murray yet, and then Washington's starting Sam Howell, I think, as their QB. I don't know. This game's just going to be shitty to watch. I'll take Washington in this game just because I think Arizona might arguably be the worst team this year. We'll see how they are when Kyler Murray comes back, though. Green Bay at Chicago. This will be the first afternoon game. I'm going with Chicago on this. I don't know. I don't trust Jordan Love. I don't know how good Green Bay's offense is going to be. While Chicago has a lot of upside, they obviously did not play well last year, but Justin Fields, I think, is going to be a star. Now they have DJ Moore, another deep threat for wide receiver that they can use now. So I'll go with Chicago on this. I'll give them the win. Next up, we got Vegas and Denver. They're going to be at Denver. This is two other teams where you're just like, who knows what the fuck's going to happen with these two teams, you know? Vegas has Jimmy Garoppolo starting now, and then Denver has Russell Wilson still, who had his worst year of his career last year. But now they have Sean Payton at coach, and they think they're going to play a little bit better. I don't know. This is a toss-up game for me. I feel like it's going to be a defensive game, not a lot of offense. I'm going to go with Denver on this because I think Denver has a better defense. I think their defense will score a touchdown this game maybe. So I just don't like an average QB in Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know. I don't like picking either team, but I'll just pick Denver. Next up, Philly and New England. This is not a good start for my boys. Tough game to start the year against the former Super Bowl appearance Philadelphia Eagles, who are coming off a huge year. Jalen Hurts having his best year of his career in the NFL. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and then New England. I just don't know how our offense is going to be. I know our defense will be good. Our defense is always great. I just don't know how our offense is going to be with Mac Jones. I think Juju's our number one. I don't know. Ramondre Stevenson, Ezekiel Elliott. I want to go with my Patriots just because I'm a huge fan, but it's like, damn, it's kind of hard not to pick Philly too. I'm just going to roll with my Patriots just because they're my dogs. I hope they win this week, but we have such a tough game. Miami at Los Angeles Chargers. This is actually probably one of the best games of the week. Tua versus Justin Herbert, going to be a hell of a matchup. Two high-powered offenses. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game, probably 30s, 40s points-wise. I'm going to go with this one's a toss-up. Let me go with Miami. On this game. I think Miami's got a lot of upside, man. L.A., Seattle. Rams starting Matthew Stafford again. We'll see how he plays. He had a really bad year last year. Their offense was horrible. Seattle, on the other hand, great offense with Geno Smith last year. It's at Seattle. I'm going to pick Seattle on this one. I think Seattle's a really solid team. They'll get the win. Dallas at New York. Now, this is another big game. Two teams that could have a lot of upside this year. New York's definitely on a really good track upside-wise. Dallas, they've had decent years. I don't know how they're going to play this year with Dak. A lot of questions about Dak Prescott this year. Is he going to be throwing interceptions like he threw last year? How are they going to be at running back with Tony Pollard? Now they don't have Elliott. I think it'll help them. Now they have Brandon Cooks in their offense too, so that's a huge pickup for them. New York, on the other hand, they still got Saquon Barkley, Darren Waller. I don't know. I'm gonna go with New York. I think the Giants are gonna win this game. At New York, I think they win. Last game of the week will be Buffalo and New York. Another huge game to end the week off, man. There's so many good matchups this week. This is a huge Monday night game. We're going to finally get to see the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, so that's going to be very fun to watch. We're going to see how Buffalo plays. Kind of not a lot of people talking about Buffalo this year, even though Buffalo is one of the highly talented offenses and defenses in this whole league. This is going to be an amazing matchup. Kind of want to give a little bit of an edge to Buffalo, but we just don't know how Aaron Rodgers is going to play with this team. I mean, they could be dangerous. So I'll go with Buffalo. Y'all let me know what y'all's picks are this week if you would like in the comments. But yep, that pretty much wraps up week 1, guys. Y'all give me ideas on some other things y'all'd like me to talk about in the next pod, and thank y'all so much for watching, and good luck this week, boys. Good luck.